Hey there, campers. I am happy to see you back out on the trails. It is now April and the green is in full swing. And I'm really proud to see you out here. April may be bringing you showers and winter may still be holding on, but the green is a force that can't be held back. Even if all you can do is go on a little walk around your neighborhood or a quick stroll down the road, it is still a positive step to getting outside. If you'd like to join me, I have a pretty good fire going on, so feel free to take a seat and I'll share with you a campfire story. But before we dive into the spooky, I want to take a moment and talk about trusting your instincts. On last week's episode, I had said to trust your gut instinct. And I want to elaborate on that because for some people, just stepping out into the green, it can be a scary moment and it can cause fear. It can be scary going someplace new, and it can be even more scary if that new place is a part of the green that you might not be familiar with. Fear of new surroundings and gut instincts of danger are two different things. So let's say, for example, your fear is in full swing. You've gone somewhere new and you've gone there purposefully because maybe you want to try camping. Maybe you want to try hiking. Maybe you want to get yourself out of your comfort zone and you want to get outside. And that fear of just being outside can get mixed up with any gut responses your body may be trying to send you. So you may think that the uneasiness or the goosebumps or the stomach churning feeling is just about being out someplace new, when in actual fact it could be a gut instinct. It could be your body trying to tell you or warn you of something that's out there. And the two can get confusing. So if you start venturing out into the green, I suggest taking baby steps. Find a place that is close by your home and spend time adjusting to the new place. Even if the place is close by, you're still going to have to get used to the noises that are out there. Maybe the traffic noises, maybe neighborhood noises, maybe new camping noises. Those things could be natural, and your body has to go through, well, also your mind has to go through all of those new noises and become accustomed to it. So take a few deep breaths. The most important thing is to stay calm. If fear is left to its own device, you could definitely hurt yourself and psych yourself out by not thinking clearly. And if that is happening, if you're out there and you feel like you just can't calm down, then it's okay. Go home. Go home, regroup, and reassess. You haven't failed, and no one's going to scold you or make fun of you because you got too afraid to be outside. You took a big step just by going out there, and that is great. So while you're out there, if it's your second time or your third time or your fifth time, you're still going out there, you're still trying. Get in touch with your body and get in touch with what is out there. Once you have the chance to overcome that fear, you can then know the telltale signs of what is fear and what is gut instinct and know the difference between the two. So when you get the instinct feeling, when your body is actually trying to warn you of a danger that's out there, when the hair stands up on the back of your neck, warning signs are ringing in your head, then those are the times that you should pack up, and that is totally okay. But please remember the fact that even getting out there is a great accomplishment. And while you're out there, take a journal with you. Write down how you're feeling and look around to see what is causing that fear. That is just one more step to trusting yourself and being able to get out into the green. At our last campfire, we started with the southern part of Long Trail. And with it being over 200 miles, it is definitely long. But why was the trail made in the first place? Well, for that, campers, we need to go back to 1910. To James P. Taylor and his vision. James was the founder of the Green Mountain Club and secretary of the Vermont Chamber of Commerce. James had a vision to make Vermont a more attractive and accessible place for tourists to visit. While climbing atop Stratton Mountain, James had a vision of the Long Trail. When he founded the Green Mountain Club, it was to make Vermont mountains play a larger role in the lives of the people. And Long Trail was a part of that vision. It took 30 years to make, beginning in 1910 and finishing in 1930. This trail became an inspiration for the Appalachian Trail as well. In fact, Long Trail and the Appalachian Trail share about 100 miles together. And don't you worry, camper, we will be heading to the mysterious trails of the Appalachian Trails all too soon. Since Long Trail of Vermont is, again, over 200 miles long, I would be remiss to share additional ghost stories. Take, for example, the ghost of Mount Mansfield. This is a popular trail. Personally, I have not been there yet, but I have a feeling the photos, albeit gorgeous and beautiful, just do not do this mountain justice. The hike is not for the faint of heart. Mount Mansfield is the highest mountain in Vermont. The hike takes you in a loop that is about 7.7 miles long. It is still a really popular one, so you will be sure to see people along the way. Now, dogs are welcome, but if you have a dog like mine, one who is reactive and doesn't like other dogs and sometimes doesn't like other people, it might be a good idea for you to find a sitter. Sometimes there are campers there who are in the same situation, and you guys may be able to swap babysitting times. Or you can also use apps like Rover to find a sitter who might be able to come and watch your pet for you. The camping options are vast here, but if you are going to take your dog, please clean up after him. We want to be able to take our pets with us and have this freedom so that we can continue to enjoy it. But if people are leaving their little poop baggies and poop in general, that is going to be taken away from us. Now, like I said, the camping options are vast here, but you still need to abide by the simple rules. There are designated spots for your type of camping style, whether it be glamping, cabin renting, staying in your RV or van or car. Tent camping and backpacking are all options, but please check with the websites to see where those are permitted. Like I said, the hike on Mount Mansfield is a tough one. There are rocky outcroppings and ridges to climb over, so take appropriate precautions, take the necessary tools, always take water with you and some food. There is also a rock wall that has limited grips and has a 6-foot chasm to challenge you along the way. So when I say be prepared, I really mean be prepared. I am definitely not that type of thrill seeker, but for those who do, again, be prepared. With all that out of the way, let's delve into the mysteries of Mount Mansfield. This land has had many who have tried to claim it. The Abenaki referred to this place as and I'm sure I'm going to butcher this, but I'll attempt it anyways. They referred to this place as the Mozo de Pauadso, or Moosehead Mountain. And this is the home of the Wampahoofus. The Wampahoofus, sometimes called the Side Hill Gougers, and also called the Gaius. This was a wild boar and deer hybrid creature. This elusive creature was rarely seen, and sightings took place between 2,600 and 3,200 feet of elevation. These were a private creature, preferring to stay out of sight. They were able to traverse the steep slopes of the mountain by traveling laterally along its side. The males would travel clockwise, while the females traveled counterclockwise. But as they continued this way of motion, their bodies began to adapt by creating one side shorter than the other side, meaning the left side would be shorter in females, while the male body became shorter on the right. Is it outlandish to consider? I don't know. We could ask the Tyrannosaurus Rex about his short arms, or the German Shepherd with their short rear end quarters. The origin of the Wampahoofus is sketchy. Some think it migrated from northern Maine. Others believe it was a natural occurrence. There are those that believe the Wampahoofus has gone extinct. Now, its extinction cannot be confirmed, as there still may be unverified sightings. But what the majority of people believe is that the Wampahoofus numbers dwindled due to the evolution of one side being shorter than the other side. So when it came time for mating, they were too lopsided on either side and could not mate successfully. Others feel that they became too abundant, and as the mountain could not provide for their vast numbers, they slowly starved, resulting in just a few being left. We are lucky enough to have a trail named after the Wampahoofus. Professor Ray Buchanan noted one day that he saw a rock formation, and he believed it to resemble the profile of the Wampahoofus. If you're curious about this trail, it's a tricky one, but you can reach it by taking the Butler Lodge Trail from the Stevensville trailhead. Once you reach the trail, and if you're brave enough, you may be lucky enough to catch a glimpse of the Wampahoofus if you hike straight up and down the mountain. This has been the best way at seeing the Wampahoofus, as they only travel vertically along the mountainside. When settlers began moving in, they set up small towns. Some of these towns became booming cities, while others became ghost towns. If you remember our last Campfire, episode 7, where we discussed the Bennington Triangle, well, there is a ghost town there. Once a booming New England town, Glastenbury seemed to have all that was needed to become an epicenter, with its large mill and blacksmith shops. It boasted 250 people back in the 1880s, which for that time was a good sign. But as with the short-sightedness of townspeople back then, they thought they could cut down all the trees and never run out. We know about the dangers of deforestation, or at least we should. With the trees being cut down at hazardous rates to make coal, to heat their houses, to even construct their houses, what happened next completely decimated the town. Once the trees had all been cut down in and around the town of Glastenbury, the townspeople had no way to make coal, meaning they had no way to generate income. So the train, which relied on coal, was transformed into an electric trolley. In an attempt to bring money into the town, they began converting buildings such as the lodger's house by turning it into a hotel. The apartment houses were turned into casinos. They really tried to keep the town alive. The official opening of their new tourist town began in the summer of 1898. But that would also be the end of their tourist town, because with all of the forest destruction they had caused to the mountains, there was nothing to deter the waters rushing down from the mountain top. And in that same year, the fall of 1898, a major flood washed through and destroyed the new railroad. You see, camper, the trolley was the only way in and out of the town. There were no other roads, just that trolley, and when it was destroyed in the flood, the town was soon abandoned. There was just no hope in saving it. You can imagine the fear that swept this little town of 250 people when that raging flood took hold. As of today, there are only 8 people living in the unincorporated part of Bennington County, which is also inside the Bennington Triangle. However, you can still visit parts of the abandoned town and see its remains. These remains, though, are slowly being taken back by the forest. Maybe it's the lingering fear and anger that causes the spooky sightings. Or maybe it's the elements of the forest itself, scaring away anyone trying to inhabit and destroy its home again. Sadly, due to a lot of deforestation, Vermont has succumbed to a number of floods. Because of how steep Vermont's terrain is, water has a habit of draining into the valleys surrounding the mountains, quickly causing lakes and valleys to swell with water. The forest, though, has seemed to pick up where it was abandoned and has reclaimed a lot of its land. Nowadays, visitors are warned to be careful, as many get lost in the thickness of the forest. Even some locals have lost their way and become disoriented while traveling in the woods. Remember Paul from my last story? He was a native and still had a very strange occurrence. Speaking of, disappearances still occur today, and those in charge believe it is due to hidden sinkholes or abandoned wells, while those with more imagination and maybe a little more open-mindedness believe there is a supernatural element at play. It is easy to forget that unusual happenings have been occurring for many centuries. The sightings of Bigfoot-type monsters, strange lights at the tops of mountains, odd odors, and weird sounds have been documented as far back as 1761. The indigenous Algonquin tribes believed these sightings were due to where the 4 winds meet at the top of the mountain. Maybe it is this energy that has made it so hard for colonizers to take control of the mountain. In 2003, a Winooski man, Ray Dufresne, spotted a Bigfoot near Route 7 heading towards Glastenbury Mountain. Now, when he told his story, everybody said it was just a black bear, walking to town on its hind feet, I suppose. However, Dufresne reported that this creature was at least 5 to 6 feet tall, covered in hair and not walking normal. He also reported that the thing had long arms, and at first he thought it might have been somebody dressing like a gorilla. Dufresne was also an experienced hunter and had been hunting in that area since he was 15, so he knew what a deer was, and also what a bear looked like. He states he had not been drinking or doing drugs, but people still laughed at his encounter. However, his response was, why would a random person be out there walking around in a gorilla suit or a bear suit? Just to hope that somebody would be walking by or be driving by? I agree, it just did not make sense. There is an article in the New York Times dated October 18th, 1879, where 2 hunters reported the sightings of a quote-unquote wild man while hunting south of Pownal. To put that in perspective, Pownal is about 20 minutes south of Bennington and just a few miles from the Glastenbury Mountain, where Ray had his original sighting. The hunters described this wild man to be covered in a reddish hair, about 5 feet tall, with a long, straggly beard and wild eyes. As with many men who shoot before thinking, one of the hunters took aim as the wild man leapt from the rocky cliff it was standing on, and apparently hit it as both men stated a cry of pain and rage emitted from the creature, and then it turned on them. The men, now scared at what they had done, apparently dropped their guns and ammunition and fled for their lives, vowing that they would never return to that spot. Now, if we fast forward from 1879 to the 1970s, we have Arlene Tarantino, who was sitting in the woods, minding her business, reading her book, when she had a sighting very similar to that of the hunters. She spotted what looked like a hairy, wild-looking man, about 5 feet tall and running monkey-like across the forest floor. Well, campers, the reported sightings in Vermont are long and vast, and I could honestly go down this rabbit hole with you easily. But the fire is beginning to wind down, and it is definitely a good place for us to stop until our next campfire meeting. Don't worry though, that meeting will be happening soon. Now, since this podcast is focused around camping, campfires, ghost stories, and legends, I would love to hear your own personal ghost stories while out camping. Please feel free to send me your personal camping stories, and they may have a chance of being shared on the podcast. Names can, of course, be omitted or changed as per your request. Let's keep the tradition of campfire ghost stories alive. You can send your experiences via email to campfireghoststories8@gmail.com. That's campfireghoststories, the number 8, @gmail.com. Happy camping!